A rumor is growing fast that Robert Downey Jr. is having trouble on the set of his new Avengers film with Ryan Reynolds.
Something is seriously wrong behind the scenes at Marvel Studios. While fans eagerly await the return of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom in Avengers Doomsday, whispers from inside the production paint a picture of chaos, million-dollar tantrums, and two massive egos on a collision course. The rumors swirling around Ryan Reynolds and RDJ aren't just your typical Hollywood gossip. They involve scrapped footage, emergency reshoots, and the kind of drama that could derail one of the most anticipated films in MCU history. Let's dive into what really went down on that set, because the truth might be stranger than any comic book story Marvel has ever told. Before we get to the alleged fireworks, we need to rewind to a bizarre moment that had everyone scratching their heads. Ryan Reynolds posted something on Instagram that was so random, so perfectly timed that it felt calculated. Picture this. It's the middle of the night, Taylor Swift is doing her whole countdown thing for a new album, capturing every eyeball on social media. And right, in that exact moment, Reynolds drops an Avengers logo on his feed. The timing was suspicious as hell. While millions were focused on Swift's announcement, Reynolds seemed to be playing a different game entirely. He wasn't just posting, he was strategically inserting himself into the Avengers conversation when the algorithm was hot and attention was scattered. It worked like a charm. Within hours, speculation exploded about Reynolds joining the Marvel Universe, and the Deadpool Avengers theories went absolutely wild. Was it coincidence? Probably not. Reynolds has always been a master of social media manipulation, and this felt like him testing the waters for something much bigger. He got his name trending alongside Avengers content without saying a single word about actually being in the movie. Pure genius, really, but it also set the stage for everything that was about to unfold. Here's where things get real, and I need to drop some spoilers, so consider this your warning. Multiple sources, including those who correctly predicted every Spider-Man's return, have confirmed what many suspected. Ryan Reynolds is definitely in Avengers Doomsday. But here's the catch. He's not joining the team, not really. The plan, according to insiders, keeps Deadpool and Wolverine as cameo players rather than full-fledged Avengers. This makes perfect sense from Reynolds' perspective because becoming a traditional superhero team member goes against everything Deadpool represents. The character works best as an outsider, someone who breaks the fourth wall and mocks the very concept of superhero teams. Making him an official Avenger would kill what makes the character special. Hugh Jackman is also expected to return as Wolverine for these sequences, which honestly makes sense given how much money Deadpool and Wolverine made for Disney. When you have a billion-dollar hit, you don't just walk away from that formula. But fitting these characters into an already crowded Avengers story, that's where the complications began and where creative differences started bubbling to the surface. The confirmation of both actors' involvement set expectations through the roof, but it also created a pressure cooker situation where everyone had opinions about how these iconic characters should be handled. This is where things get real, and I need to drop some spoilers, so consider this your warning. Film insider Jeff Snyder dropped a bombshell that had everyone questioning what really goes on behind the Marvel curtain. According to his sources, Disney paid Robert Downey Jr. somewhere between $50 and $60 million for his Dr. Doom role, but that massive payday came with some serious diva behavior. Picture this scenario. Marvel had already shot 3 weeks worth of material with body doubles standing in for RDJ. They had face doubles, body doubles, and Downey himself just reading lines off camera while someone else wore the Dr. Doom costume. For 3 entire weeks, this was their system. Then, apparently, RDJ decided he wasn't happy with the results. After watching the footage, Downey allegedly went to the studio and essentially said, "This isn't working. I want to reshoot everything with me actually in the suit." Not some of it, not just his key scenes, everything. 3 weeks worth of already completed material had to be scrapped and reshot because the star wasn't happy with the performance of his stand-ins. Think about the financial implications here. We're talking about millions of dollars in wasted footage, crew overtime, location fees, and the cascade effect of pushing back other productions. When you're dealing with a project of this scale, 3 weeks of reshoots isn't just expensive, it's catastrophic for scheduling and budgets. But here's the thing. Marvel couldn't say no. They've invested too much in RDJ's return, and they know his presence is what's going to bring fans to theaters. He holds all the leverage, and apparently he's not afraid to use it. Snyder didn't stop at just reporting their reshoots. He made a comparison that sent chills down every Marvel fan's spine. He likened the atmosphere on the Doomsday set to the notoriously dysfunctional Fast and Furious productions. Anyone familiar with Hollywood knows that's not a comparison you make lightly. The Fast and Furious franchise became infamous for its behind-the-scenes drama, particularly the very public feud between Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Their conflict became so toxic that Johnson refused to appear in scenes with Diesel, and they had to completely restructure the films to accommodate their mutual hatred. When Snyder says the Doomsday set has similar energy, he's essentially saying there are egos so large they're threatening the entire production. There's a lot of testosterone and a lot of ego on that set, Snyder reported. A lot of people who think they know the best way, but ultimately, there's only one way that matters, and that's Robert Downey Jr.'s way. This isn't just about creative differences, this is about power dynamics and who gets to make the final decisions when millions of dollars are on the line. The comparison suggests that multiple actors are butting heads, not just two. When you have that many strong personalities in one production, each with their own vision of how things should go, conflict becomes inevitable. But, unlike the Fast and Furious situation, Marvel can't split their characters into separate movies. Everything has to work together, which makes the situation even more precarious. John Rocha, another industry insider, took these rumors to the next level with claims that made everyone's jaw drop. According to his sources, the tension between two major stars reached a breaking point over something that should have been harmless, a joke that went too far. Here's how he described it. One actor made a comment that was supposedly playful, but it crossed a line because these two stars didn't know each other well enough for that level of familiarity. The joke recipient didn't find it funny. They found it disrespectful. What followed was a confrontation right there on set in front of cast and crew that got so heated that certain scenes had to be altered or completely removed from the script. Think about what that means. We're not talking about a quick argument that gets resolved with a conversation. This was a blow-up so significant that it required rewrites, which in the film industry is the equivalent of a nuclear option. Scripts don't get changed lightly, especially not for a project this massive where every scene has been planned and budgeted months in advance. While Rocha didn't explicitly name Reynolds and Downey, the speculation has been pointing in their direction for obvious reasons. These are two actors known for their strong personalities and quick wits, both used to being the smartest guy in the room. When you put two alpha personalities like that together, especially if they don't have an established friendship, the potential for conflict is enormous. The fact that this alleged confrontation required script changes suggests it wasn't just a momentary flare-up. This was something that fundamentally changed the dynamic between these characters and forced the writers to rethink entire story arcs. What makes this rumor particularly believable is Reynolds' history of not always playing nice with co-stars. While he's beloved by fans and generally considered professional, there have been whispers over the years about his tendency to clash with other strong personalities when creative visions don't align. The entertainment industry is filled with stories of Reynolds being incredibly particular about his character portrayals, especially when it comes to Deadpool. He fought tooth and nail to get that character right, even after the disaster of X-Men Origins Wolverine nearly killed the character forever. His dedication to the role is admirable, but it also means that he's not someone who backs down when he feels his vision is being compromised. There have been previous reports of tension with other actors when Reynolds feels they're not taking the material seriously enough, or conversely, when he feels they're taking it too seriously for what Deadpool represents. The character works best when everyone around him is playing it straight, while he breaks the fourth wall and mocks the entire superhero genre. If the rumors are true, the conflict with RDJ might stem from fundamental disagreements about tone and approach. Downey is returning into the MCU in a completely different role, playing a villain instead of a hero, and that transition requires a specific type of performance. If Reynolds was making jokes that undermine that transformation, or if RDJ felt Reynolds wasn't respecting the gravity of his character's evolution, that could easily escalate into the kind of confrontation Rocha described. The pattern of past conflicts makes this current situation feel less like gossip and more like an inevitable clash between two immovable forces. The financial implications of this alleged drama go beyond just the cost of reshoots. When you're dealing with actors of this caliber, keeping them happy becomes a multi-million-dollar game of chess where every move has massive consequences for the entire franchise. The studio is reportedly willing to spend whatever it takes to keep both actors happy and on board. This means separate trailer requirements, adjusted shooting schedules to minimize their time together, potentially even bringing in mediators to handle communications between the two camps. In extreme cases, they might have to use body doubles and creative editing to make it appear as though characters are interacting when the actors never actually shared the same set. This kind of damage control doesn't just cost money, it costs time. And time in Hollywood is often more valuable than cash. Every day of delay pushes back other projects, affects marketing schedules, and creates a domino effect throughout Disney's entire release calendar. The pressure to resolve whatever is happening behind the scenes is enormous, and that pressure often leads to even more creative compromises. The irony is that both actors are professionals who understand the business, but sometimes personal conflicts override professional obligations. When egos and creative differences collide at this level, logic often goes out the window, and studios have to play therapist as much as producer. What's happening with Avengers Doomsday, if these rumors are true, represents a larger problem in modern superhero filmmaking. When you're dealing with franchises worth billions of dollars and actors who know their individual value to those franchises, traditional power dynamics break down. Both Reynolds and RDJ have leveraged their characters into massive personal brands that extend far beyond individual films. Reynolds essentially saved Deadpool from development hell through pure force of will, while RDJ created the template for the modern MCU and knows that his return as any character is worth hundreds of millions in box office revenue. When actors have that much influence, they stop being employees and become partners, which fundamentally changes how conflicts get resolved. The challenge for Marvel is that they need both actors more than either actor needs them. Reynolds has proven Deadpool can succeed outside the traditional MCU structure, while RDJ has already had his victory lap and doesn't need the money or career boost. This puts Disney in the uncomfortable position of having to cater to personalities rather than simply directing them. The ripple effects extend beyond just this one film. If these conflicts can't be resolved professionally, it sends a message to other major stars about how much leverage they can exert in their own Marvel negotiations. Every A-list actor watching this situation is taking notes about what they can get away with, and that can make future productions even more complicated. The superhero genre has become so dominant that it's attracting the biggest egos in Hollywood, and managing those egos is becoming as challenging as creating the actual content. What we're potentially seeing with Doomsday is what happens when that ego management fails. Here's what we actually know versus what we're speculating about. The confirmed facts are relatively simple. Both actors are in the film, there have been significant reshoots, and multiple industry insiders are reporting unusual levels of tension on set. Everything else, the specific nature of conflicts, who said what to whom, and whether the situation is as dramatic as reported, remains in rumor territory. The entertainment media has a tendency to amplify conflicts because drama generates clicks and views. A story about two professionals working through creative differences doesn't get nearly as much attention as a story about ego wars and on-set explosions. That doesn't mean the conflicts aren't real, but it does mean we should be cautious about accepting the most dramatic versions of events. What seems most likely is that there have been creative disagreements that required some tense conversations and possibly some script adjustments. Whether those disagreements arose to the level of the heated confrontations being reported is harder to verify. Both actors are known for their professionalism when the cameras are rolling, even if their personalities might clash behind the scenes. The reshoots with RDJ demanding to actually wear the Dr. Doom costume sounds entirely plausible given this history of perfectionism and his massive financial investment in the role. The alleged joke gone wrong incident is harder to confirm, but fits with what we know about both actors' personalities and communication styles. Ultimately, the truth probably lies somewhere between the most dramatic rumors and complete professional harmony. These are passionate, creative people working under enormous pressure on a project with impossibly high expectations. some friction is almost inevitable. The bigger question isn't whether these specific rumors are true, but what they represent for the future of the MCU. Marvel is at a crossroads where they need to re-establish fan confidence while managing increasingly complex star personalities and expectations. The stakes have never been higher, and the margin for error has never been smaller. If Avengers Doomsday succeeds, despite any behind-the-scenes drama, it proves that Marvel's system can handle even the most challenging productions. If it fails or underperforms, every aspect of how these films are made will be scrutinized, from casting decisions to budget management to conflict resolution. The integration of characters like Deadpool into the broader MCU was always going to be challenging because the character works by breaking the rules that other Marvel properties follow. Adding that complexity to an already massive production with returning legacy actors was bound to create tension points. How well Marvel manages these tensions will determine whether they can successfully expand their universe or whether they'll be forced to keep characters in separate lanes. For fans, the most important thing is whether the final product delivers the entertainment value they're expecting. Behind-the-scenes drama can actually enhance a film's legacy if the results on screen are worth the struggle. Some of the greatest films in history were born from creative conflicts that pushed everyone involved to do better work. The real test will be whether audiences can feel any of this alleged tension in the finished film, or whether professional filmmakers found a way to channel their conflicts into better performances and a more compelling story. That's the difference between drama that serves the art and drama that damages it. As we wait for more concrete information about what really happened on the Avengers Doomsday set, the entertainment industry is watching closely. This situation could set precedents for how major studios handle star conflicts in franchise filmmaking, especially when the financial stakes are measured in billions rather than millions. The rumors surrounding Reynolds and RDJ might be overblown, or they might be the tip of an iceberg that reveals deeper problems with how Marvel manages its expanding universe of characters and personalities. Either way, they've sparked conversations about power dynamics in Hollywood that extend far beyond just one film production. What we do know is that both actors are consummate professionals who understand that their careers and reputations depend on delivering quality work regardless of personal conflicts. The entertainment industry is filled with stories of actors who couldn't stand each other, creating magical chemistry on screen. Sometimes the best art comes from the most challenging circumstances. Whether these rumors prove to be accurate or exaggerated, they've already become part of the film's legacy. Avengers Doomsday will be watched not just for its entertainment value, but for signs of the tensions that allegedly created it. In a strange way, the drama has only increased interest in seeing how everything turned out. The truth about what really happened between Ryan Reynolds and Robert Downey Jr. might never be fully revealed, but the speculation alone has reminded everyone that even in the age of superhero movies, the most interesting drama often happens behind the camera rather than in front of it.